There is no age barrier when it comes to gifts and talents. Do you believe that? It doesn't matter if you're young, if you're like the small children here that we have here, or if you're 80 years old. We all have gifts and talents. Tell me, raise your hand if you have a gift or a talent, if you're good at something. Quite often we're good at more than one thing. Actually, I don't see many hands raised. You must all be good at something. Actually, if you do not believe that you are good at something or you have a gift or a talent, you need to come and see me after the service, okay? Because I think we'll have to sort it out. And the children, you must be all good at something. Is there anything that you're good at? What are you good at?
Football.
Ah, football. And you, what are you good at? What do you like doing?
Sideboard.
Sackball? Sackball? Anything else? Anyone who's good at anything? Yeah, what are you good at?
Singing.
Oh, singing. Wow. That is great. You know, there are many gifts and talents. You know, we've heard some people are good at singing, some good people are good at sports, football. My son likes playing football. Speaking, listening, dancing. Some people are good with numbers or figures or mathematics. Some people are good at problem solving. Some people are good at teaching. Some people are good at working with the children. Some people, sorry? Eating, yes. Well, we have to eat the food that's being made for us. Some people are good at administration. Some people are good at supporting others. Some people, I mean, the list is endless. And not only that, we also have the spiritual gifts that God gave us. And I'm only just going to mention a few because there are also many of them. You have the gift of faith, we have the gift of healing, and we also have the gift of belief in Christ Jesus. I can tell you this, just with the congregation here, we can write volumes and chapters and books of just the gifts and the talents that are here present today. Did you know that? Isn't that wonderful? Because God created us in his own image. And when he did that, he gave us the gifts and the talents. It was part of his creation. It was part of his intention. It was part of his purpose and plan. And I will come back to that. And hopefully by the end, you will all be putting your hand up if I ask you, do you have a gift or a talent? It also kind of took me back when I was preparing this sermon. It took me back to when I was at school. You know, and some of you here may be at school, or you're going to start school soon. And I used to remember, what happens when you're in school, when you're in the classroom? What happens? What does the teacher do?
He teaches.
Yeah, he teaches. That's also a gift. That's great. What did you want to say?
And he also makes you learn stuff.
Oh, yes, and he also makes you learn stuff. One of the ways that a teacher will help you to learn or facilitate your learning is, guess what he does? He asks you questions in the classroom. And what do you do when he asks a question to you, he or she, your teacher? You raise your hand because maybe you know the answer and you want to tell everyone and share it with everyone. Well, I can tell you when I was back at school, there was one day the teacher asked us a question in the classroom. And guess what happened? Nobody raised their hand. And then the teacher just stood there. He was actually a very experienced teacher with his hands on his hips, and he looked at us sternly and said, do you know what he said? Do not hide your light behind a bushel. Because we didn't want to answer the question. Actually, when he asked the question, we just wanted to run away and hide. So what I want to preach to you about today is about not hiding your light behind a bushel. I also want to talk to you about realizing your goals and dreams with the gifts and talents that God has given you. If you can take to... When Jesus was teaching to the many people on the mountain, and this is often referred to as the Sermon on the Mount, This is one of the things he said, and it comes from the book of Matthew. He told the people, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hid, nor do men light a lamp and put it under a bushel, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." So, do you understand this? Well, in those days, they didn't have electricity. You know, we can just press the switch and the light goes on and the whole room is filled with light. And our lights tend to hang from the ceiling. But in those days, they didn't have lights like that. What they had were either candles or lamps, and you would have to put it high up somewhere so it could fill up the whole room with light. You would never put a candle or a lamp under a table, and a bushel is actually a huge container or a basket for measuring. So Jesus is saying, do not hide your light behind the container, or do not put it down below, because then no one can see the light. And in this way, like when my teacher at school was saying, do not hide your light behind a bushel, he was saying, don't hide your talent. Share your talent. Show what you know. And likewise, Jesus was saying to the followers on the mountain, he's saying, don't hide yourselves away as a Christian, but show yourselves and use your gifts and talents. God has given us all natural gifts and talents, which were born when he created us. And when we become Christians, he gave us spiritual gifts too. When teaching on the kingdom of heaven, Jesus, because it's quite difficult to teach about the kingdom of heaven, Jesus often talked to the people in stories, and we often refer to them as parables. So basically, he just told them some stories. And one of these stories he used to illustrate the importance of gifts and talents was the parable of the talents in the book of Matthew again. You can read it yourself, but I just want to paraphrase it for you. A man was going on a journey, so he called all his servants to him, and he entrusted them with talents, according to their ability. Now, talents are probably like money or equivalent to money that can be used for trading. So to one servant he gave 5 talents, to another 2 talents, and to another servant he gave 1 talent. After some time, the man returned from the journey, and he met up with his servants. The servant who was given 5 talents and the servant who was given 2 talents had invested their talents. They had put their talents to work, and they doubled. Now they had 10 talents, or they had 4 talents. And the master was pleased with his servants because they had been faithful and used their talents. However, this was not the case for the man with the 1 talent. This man had not used his talent. He had not invested it. In fact, you know what this man did? Can you imagine? He hid the talent. He went and he dug a deep hole, as deep as he could, and he buried it. And so he didn't use his talent. It didn't grow and it didn't expand. In fact, he had disobeyed his master because his master had entrusted the talent so that he could use it whilst he was away on his journey. So the master became very angry. He became very angry because he could see that the man had been lazy, he had been disobedient, and he just hadn't used that talent, that 1 single talent. He had only 1 talent. Both the natural and the spiritual gifts are used when they're needed. So God gave us, I've mentioned this, God's given us lots of gifts and lots of talents. And these are to be used wherever you may be. It could be used in the home, at work, in the church, or just when you are out and about. And when God created you, he created you with those gifts and talents. And later he gives the spiritual gifts. I've also mentioned that previously. And this is because God has a plan and a calling for each and every one of us. And these gifts are intended that we can serve him, realize our own dreams and goals, which would actually match up and coincide with God's plan for us. So I have a question for you. Are you putting your talents to work? Or are you sitting on them? Or are you hiding them away from others? And you're not using them for God's kingdom? In the parable of the talents, which is the parable for Jesus. He wanted to show what the kingdom of heaven is like. In the parable of the talents, we are like the servants, and the master is like Jesus who returns. This is actually a very solemn warning to all of us if you do not use your gifts and talents that God has given you. Because actually, if you do go on to read the story, it has a very sad ending for that man who just buried his talent deep in the ground and did not use it. In fact, the master was so angry that he threw him out, and it was like he was being thrown out of the kingdom of heaven. So it's very serious. When God has entrusted you with gifts and talents, you need to use them. So our gifts and talents are not only to be used as God intended, but they're also, when we use them, we build ourselves up and we develop ourselves as Christians and also as good members and citizens in our communities. And we use our gifts and talents to share with others. And these gifts and talents are also used in the building of the church as well as the building of the kingdom of heaven. There's also another aspect to having a gift and a talent. It's not just that you use them. But I just want to show you that it actually may not be so easy to use your gifts and talents. So I have an illustration. I have something here which is the balloon. And those of you at the back might not be able to see it so well. It's actually been in my pocket, and now I've taken it out. So I'm going to show you my gift. Think of this as my gift or talent. I also would like to ask if I could have a volunteer, someone who has a strong pair of lungs. Please don't pass out on me. If you don't, please don't come if you have high blood pressure or if you're ill. Do we have a volunteer? I can see one hand up here. Josiah, are you good at blowing up balloons? Okay, can you please come up? Let's give Josiah a hand. Now, Josiah, you can blow the balloon. It might be a bit of hard work, and we can stop and have a break, but do your best.
When do I stop?
No, you carry on, because they need to see it at the back. It's a big balloon, you can just blow, carry on. Okay, I'll put you out of your misery. Wow, isn't that a big balloon? Actually, I hold it. Do you want to hold it up? Well, we'll hold it up. Look, can you see it now? Yes. There's no doubt you can see this balloon. You can see this gift. And what I'm trying to illustrate with Josiah blowing it, it was a bit of hard work, wasn't it? Did you find it hard work, Josiah? No? Obviously, Josiah is a gifted and talented person for blowing up balloons. But I would have found it very hard. Some people might even have passed out. But it does take some effort to blow up a balloon. And this is how it is with our gifts and talents. We need to work at it. We need to put some effort into it. And it takes discipline, it takes commitment to have a gift. Say if you're playing a musical instrument. Isn't that right, Josiah? You have to practice. Maybe you have to practice every day if you want to be good at playing your musical instrument or singing or whatever talent you have. This goes for all gifts and talents. Don't you agree? Nothing comes to you just by itself. Even God has entrusted you with the gifts and the talents. We also have to do our part and work at it. Shall we give Josiah a hand as he goes back? You can give this to you, you can hold it. You can keep it. So you saw that balloon. When you saw it big, that means you saw my talent or my gift. Otherwise, I could have kept it small and in my pocket, and you would never have seen it. You would never have known, isn't that right? And this is just like the parable of the talents. You need to work at your talent. Similarly, if we look at people with gifts and talents, we can see that they worked hard. If I just go back to Emily, who won the Eurovision Song Contest recently and who sang here as well. Actually, she had a dream to win the Eurovision Song Contest when she was 7 years old. Actually, not much older than our children here. And she was actually inspired by the Olsen brothers, who were the Danish contestants at that time. She was inspired 13 years previously when she was 7, and she saw they won. And then she decided that she wanted to win too. There are a lot of children that would like to go into a Melody Grand Prix or a Eurovision Song Contest. Isn't that right? A lot of children have that dream. But what is it that got Emily to win the Eurovision Song Contest? How did she do it? Did she just sit back when she was 7, I have this dream, and did nothing? I don't think so. I think she worked hard at her talent. Don't you think that she worked between the age of 7 and 19 to get where she was? She practiced her singing, she cultivated her talent. And not only that, with the hard work, you also build character. And this is what God wants to see. He wants to see you building a Christian character. Because Emily, she also developed the integrity and the character which actually shone through her winning performance at the Eurovision Song Contest. Don't you agree? I think she won. She won by a huge lead. And I think the judges and the people who voted for her saw something different. They saw integrity. And they saw Emily's shining light. So that in the perfect timing of God's plan, when she entered the Eurovision Song Contest, she was able to win. So there's a timing for everything. Sometimes we may have to wait a long time, because it takes a long time to develop the gifts and the talents and to show your light and to fulfill your dreams and goals. So I want to ask you, are you developing your gifts and talents? Your Christian character? Are you fulfilling your dreams and your goals? It's fantastic if you are, because exactly what God wants, as He wants to build His church and to build the kingdom of heaven. But actually, it may not be as simple as that, because not only is it hard work, you could be in a place where you're actually not sure of what your gifts or your talents are. My advice to you is don't just sit back and do nothing if you're in that situation. You need to start doing something, even if you're not sure about it. Just start on that journey, and then you'll come to realize your gifts. God will show you, because God has seen your attitude. And maybe a good place for you to start is to serve in a ministry in the church. And who knows, maybe you'll discover through serving God what your gifts and what your talents are. You may even discover some hidden talents that you didn't know you had. So if you're a part of ICC, if you're a part of this church, and you're not serving in a ministry, you know what I'm going to say. I encourage you to start serving in a ministry so that you can use your gifts and talents. Not only that, you can discover what they are. There could be another situation which is actually true for many people. You may be in a job that is not quite satisfying or you're not happy with. Or maybe you are forced to go to another job because of the current economic situation. Maybe you're forced to take a job that is below your qualification and is in a different area to what you're trained in, which would be quite normal at this time. Do you know what? No matter what the situation is, or no matter what the situation you are in, you need to treat that job like it were your dream job. And you need to work as hard at it as if it were your dream job. In fact, you may even need to work harder at it. Don't give it half your energy. Don't give it your crumbs of your effort. And don't look down on it, and don't have a negative attitude. This may not be the place where you know you are going to be or you want to be, but in order to get to the next level, you need to have a good attitude. And who knows, you may even discover some talents that you didn't realize you had. So, and also I'd like to say, as you are working on developing your gifts and talents, you will have both good and bad days. This is typical if you take a pianist. There'll be some days the pianist, the one who's learning to play the piano, will think, this is a good day. And some days you will have bad days. And it's like if you have a sport. There'll be some good days and bad days. There'll be times when you will win your matches and times you will not. That is all part and parcel of developing your gift and talent. And so it is true. This is the same for all gifts and talents. But you just need to persevere. You need to have the stamina to work through it. And it's actually with that attitude that you have that will determine how far you will go. And it's your attitude that will determine your altitude. We've had a series of sermons on how high or how far is your altitude. But more importantly, actually, it's not only the others that will see your shining light as they see you working with your gifts and talents. God will see you, and he will open all kinds of doors for you, and all kinds of opportunities will come your way. So you just need to do your part, and God will do the rest. And you will realize your dreams and your goals. And not only that, at the same time, you will fulfill the plans and purposes that God has for you. I have another example. This is also another example going back to my school days. Those of you who are at school, especially if you're the older school children, you have lots of different subjects. And those of you, you must remember when you're at school. They say the school days are the best days of your life. But surely I can ask you the question, did you like all the subjects you took at school? There are some subjects that you're good at, and some that you are not so good at. Some, maybe you're good at Danish, or maybe you're good at mathematics. Maybe you're good at the sciences, or maybe you're good at art. Maybe you're good at music, but you're not good at the other. It was very rare that you could be good or liked. Let's just say it was very rare that you probably liked all your subjects. Well, I had one of those subjects. It was called physics. Actually, I struggled with physics. I was good at the sciences. I was good at chemistry and biology, but physics was not really my subjects. It was quite apparent to me I did not have the talent for physics. And actually, when I used to go to the physics classes, I would never understand anything. I couldn't do the physics practicals, and I was struggling to follow in the classes. But do you know that even if you have a subject that you are not good at school, you actually, you have to work harder at it? Because if you don't, maybe you don't get to the next level. And so it came to the time when I had to take my school leaving exams. They were called O-levels in those days. And in fact, Prince has taken those exams now, the school leaving exams. So I know what he's going through. And you have exams in a lot of subjects. So what do I do about my physics? I'm good at everything else. So I approached the physics teacher and I said to him, what are my chances of passing the exam? And he looked at me and he said, if you work hard, you might just scrape through. Okay, I thought to myself, I have a choice. I was taking 12 subjects. I had exams in 12 subjects in all. I didn't need physics to go to the next level. I could have just, did a minimum work for the physics and maybe failed it, but it didn't matter because I had so many other subjects and I could go to the next level. But I decided, well, I've taken this 2-year course. I may as well give it a shot. May as well give it a try. So what I did was I got the course textbook, and physics is a subject that you need to understand the first concepts before you can go to the next level, before you can understand the next level of physics. And so I opened the book right from the beginning, from like the 2 years ago, and I just learned all the basic concepts by myself, and I proceeded through the book. And remember, I have 11 other subjects to study. I only have 6 weeks study leave for the exams, so I also have to revise for the other exams. So I did my best. I thought I'll give it a shot, and maybe I can scrape through with a pass. A pass is a grade C, and you have grades A and B as the higher grades, with of course A being the highest grade. Well, I did study extra hard for my physics, and actually the exam wasn't too bad. It was quite easy. And I ended up getting a grade B. So later I met my physics teacher, and I said to him, I got a grade B. And he said, yes. He said, I was surprised that you got a grade B. And I said, what did the others in there? What was the average grade in the class? He says, a lot of C's and a few B's. But he was surprised that I got that grade B. And he said to me, and he wasn't expecting it, but then he looked at me and he smiled. And do you know what he said to me? He said that I managed to get that grade because although I did not understand the concepts in the classroom, I had the ability to learn them by myself. It was then that I realized that working through this subject I'm not talented at, I discovered I had a hidden talent. I discovered I had the talent or the ability to learn new things or new concepts by myself. And this was later to put me into good stead for my further studies and for my jobs, because later on I had to learn a lot of new concepts, and I could grasp them very quickly. And this helped me to move further up and up. So, are you going to sit on your gifts and talents that God has vested in you, or are you going to put them to work? Put them to work not only for yourselves, but for the kingdom of God as you go on your spiritual journey. And at the same time, fulfill God's plans and purposes for you. So going back to last Sunday when we celebrated ICC's anniversary, everyone came together with all their different gifts and talents. Didn't you notice that? Did you notice? We had a setting up team, we had a hospitality team, we had a food team, there was a PowerPoint, recording, sound, we had singers, gospel choir, outside singers, we had a cleaning team. I probably haven't mentioned all of them. We had the team that decorated the church. And do you know what? It was fantastic to see everyone coming together with their gifts and talents. And everything went so smoothly. It's also good to see everyone working together as a team, using their different gifts in the church. And when all these gifts are combined, you can actually see Christ shining in the center of the body. So what are you going to do with your gifts and talents? Are you going to sit on them? Or are you going to hide them behind a bushel? Why don't you develop them and start on your spiritual journey with God, where you develop your gifts, your spiritual character, your attitude. And then, when you have reached your goals and fulfilled your dreams, then you can help others to develop their God-given gifts and inspire them along their spiritual journey too. And as we learned from the parable of the talents, our gifts and talents will be the keys to the kingdom of heaven.
It's a journey that we take together. It's soul food from the heart. In God, we're united in our differences. It's a place of getting in touch with God, others, and your destiny. Come and visit ICC, the international Christian community, a church where great things come together.